Today's episode is brought to you by Workfeed, the all-in-one platform to manage your restaurant team. Over 2,000 hospitality businesses use Workfeed's workforce management platform to create staff schedules 50% faster, track hours and salaries without errors, streamline team communication, and automate HR processes. Visit workfeed.io to learn more and to try it out for free.
Hello everyone and welcome to a new episode of the After Service podcast. We're here today at Ventuno in Amsterdam, so huge thank you to them for allowing us to be here. My name is Barry, this is my co-host Christian, and we're here together with our guest Tijn Verstappen. Tijn, welcome.
Welcome.
Thank you so much for joining us. You've been working in the restaurant industry for a long time. You have a lot of restaurants nowadays. Can you take us back to the moment when you were considering to open your first restaurant? What was that like?
Yes, I moved to Amsterdam when I was 18, and my sister dated the manager of a very famous beach club, and I started working there, and I worked there for 10 years. And then I get passionate about the job, and I had a boss who became a very close friend. And I was so addicted. I was never home. I only wanted to go to the beach club. And then at one point we started a business together in Amsterdam.
And how did that come about? Like, did he just come to you and say like, hey, do you want to do a restaurant together? Was it you?
No, it was me. It was, I think he preferred to that I stayed at the beach club for many more years because it was going really well. But I knew he was very good in what he did. I saw that, and he was very successful. And I knew if I stay with him strategically, and then there's chances gonna come.
Yeah.
And at one point I studied next to my job at the beach club, and I finished my study, and I went to him and I sort of pressured him. I said, listen, or I'm gonna find a job with my study, or you need to make me
Give me an opportunity.
Give me an opportunity.
Yeah.
So I could step in Pazzi. It was a firewood oven pizzeria.
Yeah.
It was very small, and he gave me my first shares. And I didn't have to pay for it. I paid it back with the profit, and there was no profit in it. So of course,
so you got a free restaurant.
I got a free restaurant. So for him it was a good because it wasn't doing very well. And you get 20%, and you pay me later with the profit you make. But
yeah, so he was like, you can revive it, bring it to life.
Exactly. And I was lucky enough that it went through the roof in the first year I stepped in. It went really, really popular. And then I paid the shares back in 1 or 1.5 years, and then we started building, and now there are 6 Pazzi restaurants, 5 in Amsterdam and 1 in Breda.
Ah, nice. So that's your hometown then as well.
That's my hometown, yeah.
So that's how it all started.
That's how it started.
It's like 10 years ago, a little bit more maybe?
Yeah, a little bit more. It was 2013.
2013,
Yeah.
so yeah. It's going fast.
What was it in particular you found? You said it was very addictive at the beach club.
Yeah.
Always wanted to go there. What was it that made you feel like that?
I was always a person with a lot of energy, maybe ADHD, I don't know. Something was happening. I couldn't really relax. I can do it now, and I'm a bit older, but I needed to put my energy somewhere. And I was so comfortable in the beach club, and I felt so at home there that I just woke up and I went there. I didn't want to go somewhere else. I didn't have social life at that time. I didn't went to birthday parties. I didn't even celebrate my own birthday. I just wanted to go there.
Yeah, the social life is with your colleagues.
Exactly.
Yeah,
My friends were there. I had such a good time there. When I started for myself in Amsterdam, I missed it also for a long period of time. That I missed being at the beach and have the energy, and it was a very popular place. So
which beach was it?
Bloemendaal.
Yeah, it's also like for the people listening who don't know what it is. It's a very nice place to be, like a deep beach, a lot of beach clubs.
Exactly, and there was the Republiek. It's still there, and it was in that time. It was the most famous beach club of Holland, I would say.
It's a big one as well, right?
At that time they build it up and off every season, and now there are 12 months a year. But it was a very, very special place, and still is. Yeah,
I can imagine.
Yeah.
Nowadays you own, or you co-own 19 different restaurants over the scope of like 12 years. Some things have changed.
Yeah.
How have you pulled that off?
It's kind of a story. As I told you, I started the Pazzi concept with Roger is his name, and with Marius, we were with 3, and then we also started a chicken concept van Spit. And that went very well from the start, but also the pizza place went very well. So we built sort of a group, which was like 7, 8 restaurants. And at one point, my ambition was a little bit, I felt to do more. I wanted to do other concepts, and my partners, Roger and Marius, weren't really into that. They had a big hotel, they had the beach club in Bloemendaal still.
They basically already had what you wanted, maybe.
Exactly. They had what I wanted, and I wanted to grow, and they weren't really there at that time. So I started my own restaurant group with 2 partners, and there came out like 10 more restaurants.
So that's where you are today, basically.
Yeah.
And when did that ambition come that you were like, okay, of course it started with Pazzi, first restaurant, after spending a lot of time just working on the floor.
Yeah.
When did you get that first like bit inside where like, I want to actually build to the group of this size?
Yeah, that's a good question. It was never for me about the money. I was never money driven. I spend all my money and I never. so it's like it's not for me that I wanted to become rich, which I'm also not. Yeah. But I got addicted to the concept developing, and it was my passion to develop concepts and build something nice, which give value to a certain neighborhood, and that process, we have a tapas place, it's a Pepito, and we went to Spain. We dive into the tapas concept, and then build something from scratch to something. That's something I really like to do.
So just really enjoying the life around it as well, like doing those trips. I can only imagine it's super fun.
And people think that you get also a lot back from people in Amsterdam. Oh, that's the guy with a lot of restaurants who is money driven, but that's not the case.
It's obvious for people, of course, to kind of. It's the easy thing to say.
Exactly. But for me, that's not the case.
No, you're here to tell people about it now.
Yeah.
And now they all know.
Yeah, it's about passion.
Does not care.
It sounds a bit corny, but it's a passion thing.
Yeah, but it's clear. Like it's easy to understand that now the way you speak about it as well.
Yeah, but I opened a fish restaurant. It's now built to a linguine, but I did it for 5 years, and everybody advised me, don't do it. There's no money in a fish restaurant. The margins are so thin. But I thought that neighborhood needed a fish bar.
And there is also concepts where it works well, right? You have that seafood bar, I think.
For sure there are some, but
it's difficult.
It's more difficult than opening a pizzeria of a pasta restaurant.
Yeah, that is true. But it's also more unique in that sense. So there's also a good reason for it. Yeah, also again to prove it, to build that concept, to make it work.
Yeah.
In all your businesses, you work with partners. You already mentioned how you started the groups, but also in the individual restaurants, you involve a lot of people in it. Can you tell us more about the approach in general, but also why you decided to go with that?
Yeah. Now, when we made mistakes in the past to put a manager who has no
skin in
the game in a restaurant, and then you learn quite quickly that when you have more restaurants, that's not a suitable situation, because you need somebody with skin in the game on the floor who's working for their own. Income. And that I think that it will pay itself back. So I rather have a smaller share myself and have somebody who's see that restaurant as their own, and it is their own, and that's the only for me the only way it works when you grow. And it's an example, we had a restaurant in Rotterdam, and there was a manager who was a very sweet guy, but he was a manager and he had a salary, but he didn't give a shit about the profit or the success of the company. So it was losing a lot of money. And then at one point I was done with it. I said, okay, I'm going to drive there for 2-3 months every day myself, and I'm going to see where I can cut the cost. and make the revenue higher. And I was there for 2-3 months, and we closed the gap of like 12,000-30,000 euros just to be on top of it, you know. And that's, I think, there was a absurd example, but that's the you can fill a big gap just to be on top of it.
Yeah.
And where did you find those savings when you went there yourself? Where did you find
Good
places to-
question. No, it's tiny things, you know. For a restaurant, when you let somebody start at 5 o'clock or 7 o'clock, it's 2 hours. But when you take that through all the year, you have about thousands of euros. Like a cleaning company, you let them clean 5 hours a day, or you let them clean 3 hours a day, and make sure they work harder. And those are all small things that makes a big difference. You think a manager thinks, oh, it's just 20 euros. No, if you look to the year, it's making a big difference.
Yeah, exactly. And especially if you do multiple of those cases a day. Thank you for putting a silent advertisement for our software in there. But thank you very much, organically. Can you tell us a bit more also about what the setup with those partners actually looks like? Like, how do you go about it? How do you find it? And how do you split?
Yeah.
Like
What
the shares?
we mostly do is we have a talent, and we gave him the responsibility of one restaurant, and they get a piece of the profit. So they don't get a share; they get a piece of the profit.
But then they start thinking about the money they spend
Exactly.
as it's their own money that they lose.
Exactly, and that they get, but the shares they have to pay for. But after 1 or 2 years, when they build vermogen, how do you say?
Yeah, it's like when they build their own equity.
Equity.
base,
After a few years, they build up some equity.
or net worth, like whatever. we call it.
Yeah, and with the money they can buy themselves in.
Yeah.
So we value the company at the time they start, so they don't have to pay more for the company.
Ah, that's nice.
Which they build themselves.
Yeah.
So we value them when they start, and then after 2 or 3 years, they can take the money and take it and stop, or they can buy themselves in.
Yeah, and continue. And what kind of percentage are you talking about for those people?
That is different.
From players to players again.
Place to
I guess it also depends on how many partners you enter in.
Exactly.
In the first
So
place.
if every company is a bit different. Like in Blik, we have three partners in Parol too, and then there's a little bit more shares to give, or some who is very talented. It's every restaurant is different.
Yeah, so we also kind of base it based on the actual individual and how much
Exactly.
value they
This is
deliver.
mostly around 15-20%.
How is your process for opening a new place? Let's say you're about to open number 20. What sort of process would you go through to figure out where should it be? What concept should it be? Like, what's your thought process in that?
So can you say?
Yeah, so when you open a new location, what's your exact process for doing that?
Yeah.
Like, where do you start and how do you find out what concept fits in and what neighborhood to
It's a
to
good
open?
question. Now, the way I work, before was I was finding good locations, and on the hand of what that location needed, I'm gonna develop a concept. So I was always driving through the city, and I saw restaurants who are not doing well, or like when restaurants are coming on the market. On the websites, it's already too late, sort of, so to say. So how I got a lot of locations was being very brutal,
Eager.
eager.
Yeah.
I contacted the owners on Instagram or LinkedIn, or I asked for the number, and I said very polite, hey, I don't want to be rude or anything, but is there any chance you maybe want to speak about a collaboration, or you want to maybe like very, and 9 out of 10 that they were open for a talk.
Okay. Wow.
And because you know a little bit when a restaurant is doing well or not doing well, and so I got a lot of locations like that, and then after that I'm gonna look what's gonna be a suitable concept here, and what is not in the area, what will work here good, and then when I have that, I'm gonna dig into that. I'm gonna travel to that country, or I'm gonna and then I'm gonna develop.
About what's not in the area, do you just look at an area and be like, well, within a sort of area, there should be at least one pizzeria. There should be a
Yes,
fit
yes.
food restaurant. So
Yes, so the fish restaurant was a good example because there was a French restaurant next to it. There was a Italian place, so there was like, and it was kind of a poshy neighborhood. A lot of people with money to spend.
So that makes
So-
the margin part a little bit easier.
Yeah. So and then I thought, oh, a fish bar would work greater. It's not existing anymore, so it wasn't that a good idea. But
But at least, how long did you have it?
5 years.
But then
That's
that's way longer than the average lifetime,
it
right?
did really well, honestly. The guests were good. Only the margins were way too thin.
What type of margins are we speaking about?
Now the fish is just like when you have a full margin, you want to have it on 25-28%, and this was like 35-38%, and then it's difficult. Also, especially when you have to ask higher prices.
Yeah.
On a Tuesday and on a Wednesday and on a Monday, people don't go out for dinner for 200 euros, you know.
No.
That were the prices I had to ask. I didn't want to, but I had to. And then it's going to be a difficult case.
So when you finally open one of those new locations, how long do you give them to succeed?
That's a very good question because I have restaurants who are making profit after 1 month, and I have also restaurants where it took 1 year or one. We have an egg restaurant. It's called Uf in the Pijp, and it's always sort kind of a puzzle. When you have a very popular place, is my opinion, you can make profit very very quickly. But for me, mostly it's like a puzzle because you start the egg restaurant. You start with a lot of stuff. You don't know the prices. You have to ask exactly. So it's tweaking and tweaking. And Uf is a good example. It did, I think, like 12 to 14 months when we put the puzzle together, and then it made profit ever since.
Nice.
Yeah.
Also, as long as you see development, kind of.
So if you make revenue, you can make profit.
Yeah.
If you don't make revenue, you have a problem.
As long as you get people through the door, right?
Exactly.
And you get them to come back.
And we're workers. We always be on top of it. So you tweak and you. But the most important thing is making enough revenue to and the profit is will come.
You need money to keep it running, right?
Exactly.
I know you are also pretty particular about locations and also what it looks like on the inside. So even though you just mentioned like how do I find the new places, I'm just curious, what do you really look at? Because we're just talking about maybe a nice restaurant on the corner, but what do you look at when you walk inside? Where do you see, okay, this is a place for me?
Yeah, but now mostly you look for corner places with a terrace. That's,
of course,
that's the ideal situation. But it also depends. Like we have a linguine, a pasta bar, and that's very small, and it's only 30 seaters, and you don't need a terrace actually. So that's for us. It's a very good concept because you don't have to invest a lot in the location.
Good margins with pasta.
Good margins. So it depends a little bit, but mostly you look for an outside because the summers are not that long in Holland, unfortunately.
They're getting longer.
They're getting longer, but like I would never start a big restaurant with no terrace.
Nah, but you have so much more capacity. Exactly. In summer, otherwise it's empty on the inside.
Exactly.
Weather,
those are rules I would never. I set for myself. But it depends a little bit on the concept. But for linguine, I would start a very small, no terrace. I would do it. But for like Uf would never work without a terrace, or Parole, where we have a French restaurant. It's yeah.
Yeah, and on the inside, you also like open kitchen is also a bit of your thing, right?
Yeah. Oh, you ready?
Yeah, we did our research.
Yeah, I see it. Yeah. My open kitchen, yeah. So I wouldn't split level where the kitchen is downstairs. I wouldn't do that. No,
exactly. Yeah. So it just needs to be the complete picture.
Yeah, but you feel when you're in a building in a location, you feel if this is suitable for a good concept. And when I was young, I said yes to everything. Everything was off. Yeah, I'm gonna do this, and then you come back from that.
You fall a few times.
Exactly. And not everything we do went well, and that's also fine, you know. And we also made mistakes, and we still do. And but it's an interesting process.
I can imagine. But you also like when we're speaking here, you're clearly a hospitality guy to the bone. You seem to very much enjoy being there in the operations, enjoying it a lot. Now you have 19 places. Like you cannot be everywhere at once.
No.
How do you do that? Because I guess it must be difficult to stay away from places.
Yeah. Now you feel when you're needed somewhere, and we opened Blik in last September, and it's very big. So I feel I'm needed there in the weekends, and when you know a restaurant is not doing so well, so you feel you're needed there, and you put a bit more time and effort in that one. And we have also concepts who are running really well, and there's no...
you just open the reports and be like...
sort of, but not only the reports, also the reviews are very important.
Of course.
So we are at the office every Wednesday, and every manager of every restaurant comes by to the office. And then we check obviously also the revenue, but also the staff cost, the personal cost, and the reviews.
Yeah.
And when you see the reviews are good, the revenue is good, everything, the staff cost is
just
good.
walk out like.
But then you know that restaurant is good for now, and there's a good partner in there. So you're not very needed there at that point. And there are also places who are not doing so well. So I have to put extra effort in this one. And for me, my most time goes into Blik because it's the biggest place I have so far.
And your latest one also.
And the latest one, and I think and I hope in a year or what that I can take a little bit more distance from that one too, and then
How much do you work with data in the restaurants? I think a lot of restaurateurs feel like that's something they should be spending time at, but don't really have the time for it.
We do a lot, but we have your BI whole system where you see like everything in one. So you see
all the different locations basically.
For every location, and but at the end there are a few things, few buttons you can turn, and that's the staff cost, that's the margin on the food and on the drinks. And the rent and everything is set, and those are the things you have to get in control. And the food is and because we are mostly restaurants, there's the food and the stuff and the wines are very easy to calculate. But the food and the wages, the salaries and the staff costs are the most interesting points.
You spend a lot of time looking over like how did we perform this time of the year last year?
Yeah.
And then you try to schedule accordingly.
My partner is an old banker.
Yeah.
So he's very interested. I'm more like the creative guy. I'm trained in numbers, obviously, a little bit more than a few years ago because I had to. But my partner is he's actually only sitting behind his laptop and working on the numbers. Yeah. And I am more, I became more of a concept developer and being in the operations. So that's a very nice, I need him very, very bad. And
the other way around as well, obviously.
So that comes from upside, and then you tell each restaurant what to focus on.
Yeah, so every Wednesday when we have the meeting, we say, hey, listen, your staff cost was a bit too high last week. How you gonna bring it to 30%?
Yeah.
And what's the plan for this week? And then we are very on top of that.
Yeah, and I guess you also base that again on concepts. In some concepts, you might be willing to spend a little bit more on staff costs.
Of course, like
based
Blik
on the
is,
service level.
Blik is very high quality, so the staff cost can be a little bit higher than at the egg restaurant by Eason.
Yeah, that makes so much sense. Yeah. In general, what does a day in your life look like nowadays? Like it sounds. I imagine it that you step on your bike in the morning. You're just gonna cycle around Amsterdam, where 18 out of your 19 restaurants are. I think, right?
Yeah.
And you just go drink some coffee here and there.
I think when you wake up in the morning, you open and you can see
100%
revenue last night.
I never look at the revenue in the night. I taught myself not to do it because if it's shit, you sleep, you don't sleep or you're stressed. So in the night when I go to bed, I put my phone away. I never look at it. I learned myself not to do it. In the morning, I check it straight away. I have coffee. I play padel a lot, so I'm with Roger, my boss from the Republic, my ex-boss, my friend. He's a sort of a father figure for me.
Yeah.
So we play padel a lot, and then I go home, take a shower, and then go to the office. And then later in the day, I drive by a few restaurants, and in the weekend, during the week, I'm home at night. I'm not in the restaurants because I need that. I think I need that.
Just
And in the
some
weekend,
peace.
I'm always in the restaurant.
Yeah.
Always.
You're still on the floor in the restaurant.
Every Thursday, Friday, Saturday, I'm in the restaurants. And now it's mostly Blik.
Yeah, of
Because
course.
it's needed, and then the other 4 nights I try to be home, don't do social, because you have so many social talks and you speak with so many people that now I'm a bit older. I'm 41, so I'm happy to be on the couch a few
It's
nights
also
a day.
dangerous, right? Because you're always, of course, it's so easy to then go to restaurants. Then it's
Yeah.
easy to take a drink. And
No, and
all-
that was a mistake I did years ago when we started to grow a bit, and there was every night there was a friend who's coming to my restaurant. Tonight I'm at Forel. Tonight I'm at Linguini. Are you coming by? And I made a mistake to do that because I feel obligated to give them a nice night. So I was there 5-6 nights. I was in my restaurants drinking wine, and at one point my sisters came to me. And they said to me, Tijn, you are very good in what you do, but is this the setup you have to follow? And I said,
You love it a little bit too much.
Yeah. But it's not that I loved it because I didn't want to, but
felt like you had to.
I felt I had to.
Yeah.
So and then at one point I changed that the way of working. So when my friends are contact me, I'm at Peralta. I said, listen, this weekend you can call me. I come to you, but during the week don't. And I never do it anymore.
I think I heard one of your friends who has a very big podcast in the Netherlands. I think he actually praised you on one of his recent podcasts where he said like he is very good at going home.
Yeah,
So he would just come for dinner, but then he's going home instead of people sitting there until 2:00. Or what we did yesterday, the people in the restaurant where they came to us like, we really have to close now.
Yeah.
Can you fuck off, please? And like, then you need to be gone.
I have the 12 o'clock rule.
Yeah.
So obviously in the weekends in your own restaurant, it's also nice because always friends and you of course you drink a wine, but because in the weekends I have to work, so I cannot be till 2-3 o'clock drinking because the day after it's
Like this.
so cannot. So always when I look at my when I'm enjoying, but I see it's like 11:30, 11:40, I go home.
Like out.
Yeah.
That is such a smart rule because always after that, it's always unnecessary.
It's not gonna bring you anything.
No.
It's not gonna bring you anything.
I always said if your business requires you to work every single day, all day,
Yeah,
then it's not successful. Even though you make a lot of money,
yeah.
you need to be able to take time off.
Yeah, of
Yeah,
course.
exactly.
And the alcohol thing is obviously very nearby.
Yeah, look.
So you have to be.
So
yeah.
by me. Oh, I didn't even do this.
What you mean? So you need to be a bit strict for myself. And now I sound like a saint. I was never strict for myself. I drink so much. But at one point I was really done with it. And and my partner Manuel, who I do Blik and Pepito with, we had the same, and we said to each other, if we want to make this a success, we have to change our attitude. He never drank one single,
No drops anymore.
never one drink anymore. And I do drink, but in a very different.
But it's a good thing because otherwise it's just not like you cannot maintain that, right?
You cannot maintain it, but when I'm Saturday at Blik, I need to be fresh because I need to speak with guests. I have to give them a good feeling. I have to, it's very hard when you have a hangover too.
Yeah, exactly.
To,
and people also look at you that way, of course. Like they attach you very much to the places, I imagine. And also
Exactly.
curious because with that many places you have, and you also said like you look a lot at reviews. What does it do to you when you see bad reviews?
Yeah.
Like I guess you take it personally.
Yeah. That's very. That's why I never look at revenue in the night, but I also never look at reviews.
That's even worse, almost. I think.
Yeah, because but that's why I always say to my staff, you can ask every person who works for me. I always say, be sweet. Don't be polite. Be sweet because, and that's I think where we are strong in because we have. For me, it's so important because it's people come to my restaurant gonna spend money, and I'm happy with that. I want to thank them. To give them their trust. To be honest, and being sweet is free, you know. And then you have 80% won already. And I always say to my staff, you can ask, hey, was everything nice? Okay, and walk away. But you can also make really contact. How was your night? Did you enjoy it? And are you coming back? And that for me is a very important part. So when I see a bad review about the food, for me is annoying because I want them to like it, obviously.
Yeah.
But that can happen. There's also a
never know.
taste thing.
Yeah.
But when I see a bad review about the stuff that they were
service,
rude or the
basically,
service, I flip out.
I get that because that is just an attitude thing. Like I was just saying to you before we recorded, we went out for dinner yesterday, and the place was kind of meh, pretty. It was not cheap, but then the waiter, he turned the entire experience around because he was great.
Yeah.
All the time came to the table before you finish your glass, asking about it, and it just turns a meh experience into, you still tip them. But still, like he just made it, and I think that's such a important thing.
I think the food is obviously important, but the way you get treated, and I believe the going out for dinner is a experience, and the stuff makes that experience for a big part.
That's the part you remember.
Yeah,
You don't really
Exactly.
remember the taste after a few months.
And
Treated you.
we have at Blik, we have a host. Is Elle, is a very good friend of mine, and she is so amazing at what she does because she's not she's almost hugging the people coming in. Sometimes she does, honestly, and she is so great. And when I'm not there and she's there, I'm comfortable because I know she's giving the people that special treatment that for me is very important.
Yeah, and I'm also just curious. We spoke about it in the beginning, but we didn't ask this. How do you also find the people? How do you identify the people who are potential, let's say, co-owners? Are you speaking about her now in a pretty positive way?
Now you make wrong. Sometimes you see it not good. You see when people are capable, but I still make mistakes in that sense that I give people responsibility, and then you see they're not qualified to carry a restaurant on their shoulders, because you have shift leaders and you have really managers and potential owners,
operators, kind of.
and that's a big difference because the shift leader is a person who manages the evening, but a co-owner / manager for me is who is taking responsibility for numbers, for reviews, for margins, and that's how to find.
Happens off the floor, basically, when you're not in action,
and that's hard to find.
I can imagine.
Yeah.
Before we wrap it up, Tijn, because we've been yapping for quite a bit already, what's next for you? You opened a shit ton of restaurants in the last 5 years.
Yeah.
Are you gonna continue with that, or are you gonna?
No, we're gonna take it after Blik. We're gonna set back a bit and consolidate. Is that English word? Consolidate.
It's actually you used it correctly as well.
Yeah, good. No, we want to focus on what we have and make that even better. And then in a year or what we will see further. Yeah, I'm gonna open one. Probably we are gonna open one more Pazzi in North.
So in Amsterdam, North.
In Amsterdam, because that's the only area we are not in yet, and we had there a pop-up restaurant who was doing really well. So that's probably gonna happen next 6 months, and then we're gonna consolidate and focus on what we have.
Nice.
It's interesting, like a couple of the other restaurant owners we've been speaking with, they also said the same thing when they reached around 20. They were like, let's pause it for now.
Yeah.
Just look.
And they really hit the gas pedal from like 10 to 20. And then they're like, oh, because then also staff becomes way more difficult. Because you have a lot more cultures. Like in your case, of course, there's a lot of different concepts, but still it's under the same company often. So culture becomes different.
Yeah,
it's staffing in general, replacing people.
It is. It's and with the margins who are under pressure, it's not that easy anymore. And I'm looking forward to focus on the things we have and not building
a little less stress. Maybe as well.
Yes.
Tijn, thank you so much. It was lovely speaking with you.
You're welcome.